and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on CynicalBrit.com. Welcome to part 2 of the Mage Guide. Now, the purpose of this video is to have a look at some glyphs, have a look at talent specs in practice versus a target dummy, as well as demonstrate the various different abilities that you now have as a mage that you didn't have previously. You're going to be looking at rotations, we're also going to be looking at priority orders, and I'm going to be answering some of the questions and queries, as well as a little bit of the criticism that came up over the last video. I want to clear up some misconceptions there. So people do seem to have some odd ideas about the mage, let me put it that way, and we can talk about that in just a moment. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the Flame Orb right here, in the context of using it as a fire mage. Now, Flame Orb is great for Fire and Frost mages. It's not so great for Arcane. Arcane does not have a talent that really benefits it, whereas Fire and Frost really do. But they work in different ways. So, for Fire, it's all about doing a lot of damage. So, you're going to be using this in your rotation, unquestionably, which means you're also going to have a Scorch debuff on the target. So, we'll do that. There we go. So, that's the 5% critical mass crit chance debuff. Pop our Flame Orb, and we'll see just how much damage it does. The AI goes a little bit weird. It attacks the nearest target first and then decides it's going to go for that one. Now, if we get lucky, we should see some crits here. Obviously, it's benefiting from that. There we go. Got a crit there, which means we've got an Ignite rolling, which is really helping the damage an awful lot. There's a second one, and it explodes at the end. So overall, we got about 1.2, 1.3k DPS out of that. So if you take that, you divide it by 4, because it's a 15-second duration and a 1-minute cooldown, which starts rolling when you cast it. That is the extra DPS you're going to get from it. Unquestionably, you're going to want this. Okay, what else do we have? Well, let's have a look at talents, shall we? Let's see what I'm going to be doing damage with today. The talent spec I'm using here is 6 points in Arcane, Splash, so you've got Arcane Concentration, you've also got Netherwind Presence, and 3 points in Frost for that flat 3% crit buff, and then 32 points in Fire. What am I missing out on? Improved Fire Blast, don't have that. It's not bad, certainly, because bear in mind, it kind of benefits Impact. Impact's a weird one, I'll talk about that in a minute, so I don't have that. I definitely don't have Blazing Speed, because that is unquestionably PvP orientated. Improved Scorch and Fire Starter. Now, this is the one where a lot of people have said to me, well, why haven't you taken that? So, at the moment, there's a few problems, and I'll demonstrate very clearly what one of those problems is. Improved Scorch reduces the mana cost of your Scorch spell by 100%, okay? So that's not bad. But the thing is, you're only going to be using that when you are really low on mana after a very, very long fight. Now, you can avoid a lot of those problems by having Mage Armor up. Now, you might say, well, TotalBiscuit, the obvious thing to do then is you take Molten Armor, so you don't get the benefit from Mage Armor. By the way, I should probably show you this. 3% of maximum mana every 5 seconds on Mage Armor. It is god tier now. Unbelievably good. So say if I've got Molten Armor up and I run out of mana, then yeah, I can hit Improved Scorch. It's not going to cost me anything. And if I've got Molten Armor up, I can also use Fire Starter. So you can cast your Scorch spell while moving, but only if you have Molten Armor up. It's debatable as to the actual use of that. So, yeah, you're going to be moving around quite a bit in boss fights, which means you're going to want to be doing damage. Well, there's a couple of things you can do. I mean, for one thing, you can use Fire Blast, because that's an instant cast. You can also, of course, use Flame Strike, although that's going to be very costly for you in terms of mana. Let me just show you how costly. There you go, 5.2 thousand mana. Little bit pricey, but you can use it on the move. You can also use Blast Wave on the move, which is a much cheaper option. There you go. So, you've got those 3 instant cast options. You've also got Living Bomb. If your Living Bomb ticks off while you're moving, you can reapply that. It depends just how much moving you would tend to do, really, in a boss fight. Debatably, it's worth having. In terms of single target DPS, you might want to take Impact out, and then take at least 1 point in Fire Starter. Impact is really good if you are in a situation where you're going to be dealing with a lot of ads. So if it's an ad phase on a boss, if it's a boss with multiple targets, of which there are some, or if you're dealing with AoE trash packs. This spreads the fire damage effect to anyone within 12 yards. It is absolutely amazing in terms of DPS for AoE packs. You've seen quite a number of bosses already that have a lot of AoE requirements. They have a lot of ad packs. I'm thinking of, say, half the bosses in the Stone Core require you to do that. And there are a number of others that do. So, it is helpful to have. It's a choice. For pure single target, you're probably not going to want to take that. You're going to want to take maybe Fire Starter. Maybe a point in Improved Scorch, possibly. It's difficult to make that judgment, because then you've got to take, if you want to take that and drop that, then you're taking 33 points in Fire, which means that you're going to have to drop a percent off of one of these. So you could drop something off Arcane Conch, you could drop something off Netherwind Presence, or something off of Piercing Ice. Again, it's all about choices. This is a guide. It is not a you must do this. It's supposed to give you a little bit of understanding of how these new talents work, and then you can work out the rest for yourself. So I'm going to use this one for the time being. It's not too shabby for single target. And of course I miss out Molten Shields because, well, you've seen what Molten Shields does. It is clearly not useful for this particular scenario. Okay, right. Let's have a look at rotation and damage then, shall we? So we'll reset this. Bear in mind, these are the buffs I'm using. I'm not using anything else. I'm going to take Well Fed off. There we go. I'm going to use Molten Armor, and I'm going to use Arcane Brilliance for the time being. I forgot to put that on my hotbar, like the scrub I am. There we go. Bang on. Fantastic. Okay, now before we start, let's glyph up, shall we? So I have all the glyphs on this pre-made character, and I've forgotten where they are. Where the bloody hell did I put them? There we go. Okay, this is the new glyph interface. I've shown you this before. You've got 3 types of glyphs now as opposed to 2, so let's see what we can do. Right, so let's start with Prime, shall we? And apparently you need a Dust of Disappearance to change over. That's some kind of reagent. I don't know where that comes from. I've never seen that. That is in the latest build. Right, okay, we're going Fire then. So obviously, Fireball. Definitely want Fireball. So we'll apply that to one of our Prime slots. What else do we use an awful lot of? Pyroblast. Yep, that's good. Right now, the only ones that we've got in Prime that are useful to us are Fireball, Molten Armor, and Pyroblast. Mage Armor, this is debatably good as well. So you've got a couple of options there. If you're really having massive mana problems, this will really help you a lot. Pyroblast, no-brainer. Molten Armor, 2% additional crit. Or Mage Armor. Those are the 2 that you're really going to be using in a fire DPS rotation. You don't really want to use this, honestly. I don't see a scenario when you're going to use that in pure fire. So for the moment, we are going to take... It's tricky, as I want to show you both, and now they've got this stupid reagent and I can't switch over. We'll go with Molten Armor for the time being. Okay, Major Glyphs, what are you going to want for fire? Bear in mind, this is not necessarily complete. There might be more coming in. Blast Wave. It has some use. Dragon's Breath has a little bit of use as well. What else do you really have here? Well, you're not going to be taking Icy Veins because you can't splash that far down. This is nice for utility. That will guarantee you a successful polymorph. So I would probably take that, honestly. What else do we have? Ice Block? No, not really. Icy Veins, can't take it. Invisibility, some use. Mana Shield, a little bit of use. Like I say, mages are kind of weird in that regard. They're not all that useful. They're very situational. Evocation, yeah. That'll help your healers out an awful lot. And it might also save you from death. Always nice to have. Slow, we're not going to take that one, so why don't we just go with Blast Wave? Because we do use it a lot. An extra bit of slowing will help in ad-heavy scenarios. Okay. Minor Glyphs. Yeah. Whatever the hell you please, honestly. Mirror Image. It casts Fireball as well now. I don't even know if they ignite, honestly. I don't think they do. Armors. It's good utility. Arcane Brilliance. Good utility. All of these are fairly minor, as you can tell. Why wouldn't they be? They're in minor glyphs. We'll take armors as well for the time being. So, like I said, in the current state of the beta, this is what I would take for fire. There may be more glyphs. There are most likely going to be more glyphs before the launch. Just bear that in mind. Pyroblast, 5% crit. 5% crit on Fireball. And Molten Armor for additional 2% crit. Okay, we're going to start with Molten Armor. I'm going to show you just how quick and how easy it is, really, to drain your mana with Molten Armor on. This is the dangerous thing. Really, really dangerous. This is the real problem that you've got with it right now. Obviously, I'm doing this solo, so I don't have any other kind of mana regeneration ability that would otherwise be in a raid. But like I said, I've tried this in group play, and I run out of mana really fast. Generally in the middle of a boss fight, not too good at all. And your Evocation, of course, will help, but it's going to involve you standing around doing no damage at all, and what happens if you run out of mana again in a really long boss fight? Then you're in trouble, because that's got 4-minute cooldown with fire. Okay, how do you open up your rotation? Well, you're going to open up with Scorch. And then what you want to do is, if it's available, you're going to pop Living Bomb, and you're going to pop Flame Orb. Living Bomb is something you want to keep up on the target at all times, and you want to let it tick off so that it gets the nice explosion at the end. Otherwise, you're going to be spamming Fireball until you proc a hot streak, and then you're going to hit a pyroblast. Now, optional additional DPS, if you have a lot of mana, you can also throw a flame strike down, because that is good damage, it's instant cast now, and that's going to be ticking away underneath the boss. Assuming the boss isn't moving around, in which case, it's useless. So, you can do that, but bear in mind, flame strike is 5,500 mana. You're going to throw away a lot of mana on that if you try and put it into your rotation. So let's try it, shall we? Okay, open up with Scorch, then Living Bomb, then Flame Orb. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, there's your setup. And I actually missed. There we go. There is a mischance on the item level 333 stuff, I'm afraid. I will show you more about that in a minute. Okay, so we're hitting that. Living Bomb's still on there. Living Bomb's still on there. It's going to tick off very soon indeed. I probably should have cast it there instead of going to additional Fireball. It's not going to make too much of a difference. Okay, crit is still on there. Still got critical mass. That's good, definitely. And it's going to tick off right now, so let's reapply. There we go. I'm still not getting a lot of crits here because my gear just isn't up to it at item level 333. There's not a lot of crit available there. And, like I said, you are still getting mischances on boss level targets. So as you can see, I'm pissing away my mana incredibly fast here. Mana's already low after not an awful lot of casting at all. Been casting for about 45 seconds now. There we go. Get a hot streak finally after all of that. Reapply. There we go. Another hot streak. That's freebie. And I'm out of mana. In a minute. With Molten Armor. That's the problem. Average DPS, like I say, about 5.2k there. Not using anything else. So we're not using Combustion. We're not using Troll Berserking. We're not using Time Warp or anything like that. Okay, so how does New Combustion work? Let's show you that, shall we? Because, like I said, that is a little bit important. Okay. I'm going to regen some. And we're going to have a look at Combustion. We're also going to have a look at the use of Flame Strike and Blast Wave in the rotation if we use Mage Armor to keep our mana up. I would love to change Glyph around to give us some additional mana, but honestly, you don't really need to. I rolled with Mage Armor without that Glyph, and it actually functioned very well indeed. Now, judging by the length of this video, I think what we're going to have is separate videos for Fire, Frost, and Arcane, where we discuss all of this stuff. Okay, full mana. Great. So we're looking to equal about 5.2k DPS here, and we're looking to sustain it over the course of over 1 minute, because I threw away all of my mana, bearing in mind I wasn't using Time Warp or anything, which would have thrown it away even faster, or Berserking, over the course of 1 minute with Molten Armor, and that's with a good single target DPS rotation. If you're having that kind of problem, then Scorch is going to have to come into play, and you're going to be wanting your free Scorch talent. Right now, Scorch is not what I call expensive, but it's 1.3, whereas your Fireball is 2.7. It's basically half. So you're going to throw away the same amount of mana unless you have that particular talent, which is, of course, that one right there. Okay. Let's have a look at it with Molten Armor, and let's show you Combustion. So what Combustion does now is that every one of your fire damage over time effects on the target is going to get turned into an additional fire debuff called Combustion, which is going to burn for that amount over 10 seconds. So let's try and get some stuff going here. Okay, we'll open the same way that we did before. So we're going to open with Scorch, Living Bomb, and there's your Flame Orb. Okay, once it gets the right target, we'll be good. Okay, that's good, that's good. So we're looking to try and get some good fire damage over time. So I'm going to try and proc another Ignite. I'm going to get another Combustion on there. There we go. Okay, there is an Ignite on it, so we'll do it now. Okay, sweet. Right, so we now have an additional Combustion burning over the course of 10 seconds. It's good stuff. So that's going to be doing some extra damage there. Explosion there on the Living Bomb. We can pop the Living Bomb right back on there. We're not getting a lot of hot streaks here, which really doesn't help, because that's really critical to your DPS, as you can blatantly see there. I mean, what you really want to do with Combustion is try and wait until you get a really good Pyroblast crit, then apply it, because that's going to tick that Ignite over 10 seconds in addition to what you've got. Okay, let's throw a Blast Wave in there as well. Let's get that into the rotation. Okay, good, good, good. Right, we're rolling a lot of good damage on there now. Reapply Living Bomb, and as you can see, I've been DPSing a lot more now, and I'm still just above half mana, so Mage Armor is extremely useful. What about if we start throwing a Flame Strike in there? Let's make it sassy. Okay, there we go. So we're going to apply another Living Bomb right there, and we're back on it. It's good stuff, it's good stuff. That's going to tick off in a second, so we're going to hit it with a Hot Streak right there, apply another Flame Strike, and if we so desire, we can throw a Blast Wave in there as well. Let's get the Living Bomb right on. Excellent. Now, this damage is much better. Overall, your DPS is much stronger over a longer period of time. We can apply Flame Orb again now That's very good. You can see the impact's proccing over there. We don't really need to hit it with that. What's the point? Well, we're going to stun a target like that, and it's not going to spread to anything anyway, so what's the point? Now, we're going to want to make sure that that critical mass debuff goes back on there. If you are critical, you're not going to have to use the Scorch, which is very nice, which means your DPS is going to be a lot better. So we're hitting more like about 6k here, which is much better. The question is it justifiable to stop doing Fireball and trigger a global cooldown to do a Blast Wave? Arguably, no. So if we have a look at Fire Blast right here, that's what Fire Blast does. So let's just pop it in here. Let's see how much damage we can get out of Fire Blast. Okay, so that's hitting for 4. Yeah, and you've triggered a global cooldown on that. Global cooldown triggered there as well. Debatably, that's not worthwhile. It can still crit, so it's not bad per se, but like I say, do you really, really want to interrupt your fireball spamming in order to cast that? Let's find out, shall we? Let's try and figure this one out for you. So, we were looking at about 6k DPS with the rotation there. We're going to try and make it optimal with Blast Wave and Flame Strike, and then we're going to ignore Blast Wave and Flame Strike entirely and see how much damage we do there. Bear in mind, of course, these numbers are not concrete. They are going to vary. This is not a suitable testing environment. I mean, you've got to spam so many spells to actually get an accurate number on this. This is just giving you an idea of what's supposed to be going on. Right. Okay. Rotation. Scorch. Into Living Bomb. Into Flame Orb. Spam Fireball until we get a Hot Streak. Hopefully get a good Hot Streak crit. If we get a good Hot Streak crit, we're going to hit Combustion to make sure we can extend that Ignite. We're going to use Blast Wave every time it's off cooldown. We're going to try and use Flame Strike every time it disappears. Obviously, keeping track of all that is very tricky. I'll try and be as optimal as possible. Doesn't mean I will be. I'm not the best mage player in the world. It is going to require quite a lot of practice. And then we will try not using Flame Strike, not using Blast Wave, and see how much damage we get there. Again, mana should come into play here, because you really should only be using the Flame Strike if you have a lot of mana to spare. If you don't, then please do not use the Flame Strike. And then, you know, when you think about the Blast Wave, you've got to wonder, is it doing enough damage to justify the spending of the global cooldown? Because at this point, I'm kind of thinking no. But we're going to give it a try anyway. Okay, open. Here we go. 4, 1, Flame Orb. Okay. Get your target, you miserable son of a pig. Excellent. Okay, start nuking damage. Okay, that's going to tick off right there. We've got a good hot streak. Excellent. Let's hit that. Did we get a good crit? We didn't, so I want to hold off on combustion for the time being. So I'm doing this without Flame Strike. I'm doing this without Blast Wave. Okay, hit that one again. So Flame Orb has now stopped doing anything, and we can't do anything with that for a little while. Just keep hitting him there, keep hitting him there. We're looking at about 5.5k right now. There's the hot streak into another Living Bomb. We're still not getting good enough, really, to justify combustion right here. Not a good enough ignite. I need a good crit to make that happen. There we go. That's not bad. That's okay. So why don't we use it there? There we go. We'll extend that one. And it missed. Awesome. Apparently combustion can actually miss. Wow. Yeah. Oh, well. Never mind. My mana is pretty sustainable right here. Right. Flame Orb's back up, so let's toss that out there as well. Excellent stuff. Critical Mass is still on there. Cast another Fireball before that one ticks off. And a Hot Streak. Nice. That's good. That's what I'm talking about. There's some good damage right there. That's still on there. And obviously you don't have to restack your Scorch if you get a Pyroblast, because that will put the Critical Mass debuff on as well. Cast one more before that ticks off. Reapply. There we go. Mana's getting low right now, but like I say, we've got a good minute and a half's worth of DPS right here, and that's without any kind of mana regeneration aside from our Mage Armor. There are other things in the raid that will regenerate mana, of course, and you can be using your mana gems to help out, and if need be, you can evocate. Right. So, overall, about 6.5k over the course of, say, a minute 45. Not bad. Let's see what we can do if we implement the Blast Wave and the Flame Strike into the rotation. We can try and figure out whether or not it's even worth doing. I'm thinking no on the Blast Wave, on the basis of global cooldown. On the Flame Strike, I'm not so sure, because like I say, it's got a ticking dot, and it can cause an ignite, so potentially that's worth having. Bear in mind, you do not get Hot Streak off of periodic ignites. You can't. You can only get it off non-periodic crits, so don't think that that's going to get you a bunch of Hot Streaks. It's not going to. We'll stick with Mage Armor for the time being. Okay, so opening with 4, then into 1, then into Flame Orb. Then we're going to hit a Blast Wave, then a Flame Strike, then we're going to hit Fireball, 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 until Flame Strike wears off, pop that again, then try and reapply Living Bomb. A little bit complicated, but we'll give it a try and see how it works, if it works. Okay, let's do it. 4, 1, F8, 5, 6, and here we go. Okay. Keep an eye on the Flame Strike. Got to keep an eye on that Flame Strike. Reapply Living Bomb right there. Let's get another Flame Strike on the right there. Excellent stuff. All right, go, 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 go. Keep doing damage, keep doing damage, keep doing damage. Blast Wave is off cooldown right now. Really should be using it. Use Blast Wave, use Flame Strike. There we go. Back on it, and that's ticked off, so I need to get that back on. It is quite difficult to maintain this, as you can tell. A lot of things to concern yourself with. Let's pop that one again. There we go. Global cooldown again once. It doesn't seem to be all that great, does it? Like I said, this is a nice bit of theory right here. We're discovering what's useful and what isn't. Okay, back into that. There we go. Yeah, overall, you're probably better not using Flame Strike from what I can tell. Simply because, like I said, the global cooldown just isn't worth it. Especially not with Blast Wave. Blast Wave is basically useless here. And because you're concentrating on all that other stuff, you're letting other things tick off. It's a pain in the ass to manage. And of course, this is on a target that's not fighting back. So, yeah. Not good DPS on that at all. Okay, so we figured out the optimum rotation. Excellent. It's a good bit of theory. 4, 1, Flame Orb. Spam Fireball. On Hot Streak, hit Pyro. Every time Living Bomb ticks off, reapply it. Hope that you get enough hot streaks to not have to bother reapplying Scorch. If you are unlucky with crits, like say you have item level 333 gear like this, then you might not do so well with that. Combustion when you get a good Pyroblast crit, or a good Fireball crit, because then you're getting a lot more damage over time. And as we saw, it can miss. I'll show you my hit right now. This is all in item level 333 gear, by the way. This is what the pre-made comes with. All of the pre-mades I'm using for these videos are identical. Hit chance. There you go. Now, the funny thing about this is that this actually changed. It's very, very odd indeed. So, miss chance right now with this gear is about 10% on an 88 or boss level target. When I last recorded, this was more like 2. So, I think this is buggy right now. But you can assume on that basis that you're still looking for 16, 17%-ish hit in order to cap out. Shouldn't really surprise you. What you can do is reforge a lot of these stats to try and get the hit that you need, and I would certainly recommend it. Again, this is not necessarily an accurate representation of DPS because I'm not in a group, I don't have any other buffs other than the ones that I've got, and obviously I don't have enough hit to hit this target. But it does give you an idea of the relative damage you can expect. And like I said, that appears to be the optimum rotation for fire damage on a single boss target. My name's been TotalBiscuit. That's been a look at fire. Like I say, I'm going to have to make this a series of videos because there's just so much to talk about right here. I will come back in the next video with Frost. I will demonstrate the mechanics behind Fingers of Frost as well as, of course, Brain Freeze and Deep Freeze and things like that. And we'll try and figure out the optimum damage rotation there. I'll also show you how great Flame Orb is now that it's Frostfire Orb in the Frost Tree. And I'll also show you how much damage the Water Elemental does, which is quite significant. My name has been TotalBiscuit. This has been part 2 of my Mage Guide, this one covering fire. I will see you next time.